Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls, to my Saturday chat day following solstice. And I want to wish you all warm blessings for the solstice celebration, whether you are welcoming summer in the northern hemisphere or winter in the southern hemisphere. So my heart, my everything to you, wishing you on this day. I have been broadcasting on Saturdays for a while, and part of my latest Saturday discussion is that of 3 decks, and you can see some of those on the table in the small screen. And so I will be carrying on with that discussion today. And I also want to draw a card and a reflection for the solstice. I was on earlier today and did a reading for the solstice, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised with the message that came through. It is very much, or it was very much, in alignment with astrological messages that I have been reading. So I feel relieved and comforted in that this invitation to be a little quieter and take our time moving into this new season is what came through. And welcome to Arya and Clevis. And Arya, if I could give you a big hug, I'll give you a big virtual hug. I wish that your challenges at this time, I'm not quite sure what to say, but I'm holding a space for that. And may you find lighter energy and a bit of space and freedom in the not too distant future. Thinking about you. Hello to Perry. Welcome. Thank you, Perry. It is becoming quite a task, actually. Continuing, there is so much pleasure in what I do, and I love doing what I do. And I am facing a lot of time and space challenges these days to continue to put content up on YouTube. So your continued support and encouragement is always appreciated. So thank you. I was actually quite surprised. I got a notification on YouTube, and that was my 7-year channelversary is coming up on the 24th. And so I'm planning a special video for the 24th. I'm going to do seven somethings, maybe three sevens. And I'm definitely going to do 7 lessons of being the tarot content creator. That's something that I want to share. And if you have any other ideas for how I can honor the number 7, let me know. Or if you have anything you would like to share for that video on the 24th, please reach out or give me a message of some kind. Yeah, so I was planning on using the tarot, the Keeper of the Sacred Bee tarot, for my reading for solstice. And then suddenly I reached for the Herb Crafter Tarot, and I'm just finding a sort of new bonding, a new connection with it, and a calm in its energy. So very, I don't know, just I'm surprised at how this deck is hitting me today. It's a new experience. And I hadn't made that connection before. So it's kind of, I want to sit and think about why subliminally I may have chosen to start my channel on Saint Jean Baptiste Day. Yeah. And what does Perry say here? Oh, thank you. Beautiful. Always inspired messages from Perry. So I'm going to shuffle again, and just for you lovely folks here, I'm going to draw a card. How may we, or what is the individual message for each of us in this time of shifting energy as we move into this new season? And as each of us connect with, once again, the feeling, the experience of being in the womb of the Divine Mother, as we enter Cancer season. And so I'm just going to go from the top to the bottom. I'm going to start with Arya, and I'm just going to go down and draw each of you a card. And this is, wow, there is a lot going on here. All kinds of things. I'm going to put I guess I better put a camera on. Let me do this, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to turn some of these over or move them out of the way. There we go. So this is for Arya. This is for fire. And I'm going to comment, and then it's elder. There's a lot going on the table here. What I'm struck by is all that is spilt on the table. Yes, there is an abundance, and yes, I feel like there's a richness of resources. And I also feel an incredible overwhelm in all of this. So, hi, Sarah, welcome. And how might this? I'm actually going to go. So this is a 4. So 4s create an awareness around foundation, that upon which we are based. I wonder if the elderberry has some message for you as well, too. Okay. Create space. And these are the words of Letitia Guthrie. Create a safe space to make a little magic. Elder provides protection from stormy weather to small creatures and tender plants. It is a striking hedgerow plant steeped in mystical lore. Invoke the aid of holy helpers like the crone who lives within the elder tree guarding the portal between the land of the living and the realm of the dead. She appears in the frothy white blossoms of summer and the dark berries of fall. Practice magical arts and move between the worlds. Honor the old ones. Elderberry syrup is a sweet remedy that heals a body weakened by invaders. Build a foundation that will sustain your work so you can create the life you desire. And it's fours, and I'm really sorry about this. I am going to fix this jiggling camera. I've ordered a new camera for this location because it's impossible for me not to move my table. Sorry. So to you, Arya, there is, when I just looked at that card, I'm feeling this encroachment. There is so much stuff. And I feel like I want to move some things out of the way so I can refocus on my craft. And I can't get back to my craft, which is an important part of who I am, if I am, um, and I wonder if this is also a metaphorical crowding, a metaphorical cloud as well too. It's like I actually literally want to move things out of the way. And that might be a very, just, sometimes when we're going through great challenges, a simple, practical suggestion can begin to pave the way um, for something much bigger and deeper. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back up to the top and draw a card for Clevis. And Clevis, you weren't here this morning, but I'm sure you would appreciate the message that came through. It was really something. Okay, beautiful. Oh, that was a magnetic cut for you. Wow, so this is about really clearing space. Clearing space. This is 10 of air, 10 of swords. And I'll zoom out here. Huh. And this fits so brilliantly decanically. This is where we just were in the third decan of Gemini. And I think this is a reminder for you again. Similar kind of message and feeling of making space for the work that I need to do. And because this is air element, so Arya's was fire, this is air. So this can be taking time as well too to clear the mind, to clear the head. Oh, that's beautiful. Went to the farmer's market this morning. And I just want to go back to what Arya said. Chaotic imagery, fruitfulness and disorder, severe need to pack things up and move on. That is my life right now. And maybe also Arya finding optimism in a clean slate and comfort in, or somewhere in the back of your mind, just a little smile to say, I can create anew in my new space. But I like this, Clevis. I love this. It's like a full open sweep and a full clearing. It feels like this season is a fresh start for you. Wow, and you are officially retiring. Wow, wow. That's a big shift for you. Okay, before I cut, I want to say the name of the person I'm drawing a card for. And that is Perry. This is for you. Okay. I'm not sure how this happens. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a closer look at this card and let's see if we can find some words from Letitia Guthrie. Now, the 10s in this deck are also about composting. They are about recycling. They're about this stage where we allow the old to die. We allow the old to die. And there's this new process that is begun. And I didn't even acknowledge the plant. The plant is alfalfa. Renewal follows release. So this is, I'm reading from the 10 of Air from the guidebook. You may have reached your limit. Alfalfa is planted to restore worn out, degraded, and fallow land. Rest and replenish so your experience can take flight. Take a breath and spend some time in reflection to refresh your love of learning. And I suppose, Clevis, that really applies to you as well, that choosing retirement has opened this space so you can begin to do some more things that you love. Alfalfa is among the oldest of healing foods. You have the wisdom of the ancients within. Sift through your knowledge and let go of the pieces that do not resonate. Do not be afraid to use the scythe on what you have grown. Alfalfa adds nutrients into the soil as it breaks down. What you leave behind enriches new growth. And so I'm thinking of something even really simple, and that is if you can digest sprouts. Alfalfa sprouts go so quickly. Sometimes I find with this deck that a connection with the plant that comes up for you is worth exploring. Okay. All right. Sarah, here is a card for you. A message to contemplate, an energy to contemplate as we wander, as we breathe into this new season. Maybe as we float, if we honor this space, this watery space of the Divine Mother that we inhabit in Cancer season. I just had another kind of powerful image. All right, so this is a beautiful cedar mandala. This is a major arcana. I'm also seeing expansion here, expansion in the cedar fronds. I'm feeling the energy of ceremony, and I see a little window opening right here. And that window, oddly, looks like it's in the shape of the opening cervix. It's like this metaphor of being in the womb of the mother. It's like you can see through that opening and the light. You see the light in the distance. There's something about this archetype that can be really powerful in this season. Emerging. You are not ready to emerge yet. There is still processing and contemplation. And, when I think of chariot energy, we want to do the background work before we go. We want to make sure our ducks are in order, so to speak. But something has indeed begun to open. A door has begun to open. All right. And Dee, hello to you. Let me draw a card for you as well, too. Maybe I'll find a way to breathe into this season, to take time, to slowly emerge. Oh, that wasn't all the cards. Let me shuffle all the cards. Yeah, exactly, Clevis. The first stages of labor, just a couple centimeters. Okay. Oh, same card. Okay, so we have a couple of cards that are predominating here in this group. And the message of cedar, let me go to that as well. So beyond my observation and feeling of that card, Let's see what Letitia Guthrie has to say. Life is moving forward gift. Life is a moving forward gift. Embark on a deeper quest. Learn from ancient wisdom and forge a new path. Cedar is both a spiritual vessel used in sacred ceremony and a literal vessel when it's used for making canoes. Like strong, flexible cedar roots finding their way through the forest. Be determined and opportunistic. Travel between the worlds of heaven and earth. Bring the knowledge of spirit and soul into the body, just as the cedar trunk contains the stories of earth. Have faith in the experience. It is not the triumph, but the journey that leads to mastery. So interesting. I'm thinking of the card. There is a card that has a canoe as the chariot. Is that in the Gaian Tarot? Wow. Yeah, and it almost looks as if the opening in that chariot card is, I don't know, there's something kind of brilliant here. Isn't it? It's odd. I have stared and stared and stared at these cards many times, and I have seen the light in the distance. So I see the darkness around the edge and the light, but I've never really noticed that little opening, and it feels like I want to keep it small for a little while. So I like that. All right. Thank you for confirming that. Okay. Do you mind? I'm going to draw one for myself just to have it on my table after I sign off from you lovely people. Okay. T. Camellia. I think this morning I was talking about my mom and how she said, Susan, sit down, let's have a cup of coffee. And my mom was not witchy or magical in any way, but I will say that she was grounded. She was about connecting with people, and she knew how to slow down, and she got me to slow down. And while there are many layers to this card and the medicine of camellia and so forth, there is something here about the process of the foraging of the plant to make the tea, and the pleasure and the flavor and the multi-sensorial experience of loose leaf tea, and also as a healing balm. I like that. And I also like the bamboo mat in the background. It feels very Japanese to me. Okay, maybe I'll have some tea in one of my favorite Japanese cups in a bit. All right, so I'm going to transition to our discussion of today. It's going to be about the court cards, the sword court cards of the decks we have been working with. And in the Margaret Peterson, it is organized a little bit differently. I'm sure many you have worked with this deck. And it stems from the court cards begin with the mother, and then each of the court cards. Yeah, it's, sorry, I want to go back to this. It's relational in a way. And it seems like making tea is such a simple thing, but if you're a part of the whole process, it's if you see the process of making tea from the beginning to the enjoyment, there's something to that. Yeah. Margaret Peterson Tarot. Her guidebook, as I've mentioned many times, incredibly poetic. And there's this sharing of lessons and energy among the court cards, which is unique to the 3 decks that we are looking at. It's the only one that shares and builds the energy of the element. In the Mythologia Fennica, there are ongoing connections. So if I didn't read the guidebook from the major arcana, I started reading from the suit of wands and squeaky chair. However, in only studying 28 cards so far, I'm starting to feel more comfortable with some of the myths and the characters in the mythology. However, Sadhana is not really building connection among the cards. Each myth is presented separately. Now, I do want to say something about the court cards, because these are presented quite differently than the ace through the 10. In the ace through the 10, she brings in multiple myths in a short space to try to share and demonstrate the meaning of the card. In the court cards, at least in this particular suit, there is more of an extensive tale that is shared for each of these cards. And then in our other deck, the Greenwood Tarot, and my goodness, Mark Ryan is putting a lot of energy into the Kickstarter campaign, posting quite regularly. Okay, so these are the courts that we're looking at in the Greenwood Tarot. The guidebook doesn't really build the energy. I think the wisdom that comes through these court cards is in what do you call it? Layers of meaning with multiple cards, because the descriptions are so short here. And also, if you are working with the one that's on my table most of the time is the Stephen Farmer animal book. I do have a couple others as well too. And I think sometimes it does help to review those books in looking at totem animals and things like that. So these are not connected in any particular way. And I just wanted to give a slight overview of the court cards, which is our project for today. So let's start with the pages. The page of arrows. And I feel that, my goodness, this group of cards is bringing in something that I may not necessarily pick up on if I were looking at a human page of swords. And what is really captured here is the magic and how, in working with the element, the page is able to almost light weave. I have only experienced it with one teacher, Ananda Shakti, and she uses light weaving to transition from between frequencies. So when you want to go to a higher frequency, she does light weaving to get there, and it is sort of a mind-blowing experience that involves a lot of hand gestures and kind of sounding of the mouth, deep guttural sounds, and all kinds of it's really quite an experience. And I feel like this combination of sound and the movement of air is creating something very magical in all of these cards. All right, so let us turn to the Raven. Also, I want to ask Clevis something. So, Clevis, this is the larger Kickstarter guidebook. This is not the little one that comes with the rock pool cards, which I have. I have the rock pool cards and I have the little book. This is the larger English Kickstarter guidebook. At least that is what Amelia told me. And also from what I have read, so Amelia is Harvina. I'm sure you all know her long channel name. And Amelia is the one who sent me this deck. And I have this lovely letter that she sent to me. And in the letter, she describes some things that are in the Finnish version of the book, and it is not in the English version. So I think that this larger book, English version, is significantly pared down from the Finnish version, and I think maybe that came through time, and maybe also a sheer exhaustion in the translation or something, because there are definitely some gaps in the translation. I also think it's useful to remember the Page of Wands, because we are here, the purpose of this discussion is to understand the relationship between the fire and the air. And if you think about this in your physical body, the heat, the Manipura chakra, the solar plexus chakra, it takes that energy to get the lungs to breathe, to get the heart to beat. Everything is so interconnected, and I really appreciate this reminder of how important it is not to put tarot into little boxes, even though we want to do that so we can learn and study and make it easier. Yeah. Okay, so Raven, there's a couple things I highlighted here. The lesson of the Raven is the finding of one's own power and then utilizing it. So what I pick up on here is exploring of perhaps the mind, exploring of wisdom, exploring of knowledge, exploring of breath, so that I know where to go with this. The bird's power is in its mastery over its own life and the power to decide. For the raven knows how to be selfish in a healthy manner. With the aid of this sunbird, and how interesting that this particular bird is a sun totem, so that also brings in this fire-air connection. Actually, I'm going to go back a little bit. The raven's keen perception and ingenuity are within you. You see what's really happening. For the raven has brought the gift of knowledge and awareness with it. With the aid of your sunbird, not sunburn, you'll suddenly receive knowledge of all the reasons that have led to your current situation. You see your own past mistakes in a new light of possibilities. You see true intentions of other people, and you see through all that which has previously clouded your vision. So in this deck, the energy of bird, so only the pages are birds, which is a little counterintuitive to me. And when we were looking at the Page of Wands as the eagle, I was quite confused. And I know one of you suggested that has to do with the eagle bringing the fire, like in the Prometheus story, as the beginning. The page is new, as beginning. But what is something that I need to take time to wrap my head around is these birds who have great vision and are able to see from on high and glean the whole picture, are in this position of page. Okay, so here's another thought. And this goes way, way back. I don't even know if I could find the videos. Lavender Moon, I haven't made contact with her in ages. Jonathan Daly, and I believe, maybe Masha was part of this discussion, Musings with Masha. We were talking about all kinds of esoteric connections with the court cards. And most of you know that on the Golden Dawn Tree of Life, the pages their home is in Malkut. They hold the energy of the earth. They are the grounded ones. And the energy of the kings is up in the supernal triangle, as is the queen's. And the energy of the kings is sort of beyond all elements. And the supernal mother is the element of water. The elemental association is fire for the kings. However, there are other perspectives that put the kings in the kingdom of Malkut and the pages up in Keter as the newborns, as the all-seeing beings. And the pages in Keter, the ones who are closest to God, it does resonate with me because, you know, I'm sure you've all seen babies and young children, how they look to corners of the room and they feel so deeply connected to something that us more hardened adults are not as easily in contact with. And so when I see the birds, these great winged beings as pages, it feels like I have to shift to that perspective. Now, this is a little bit different with the woodpecker, because the woodpecker is not a bird who necessarily sees from on high. But there's something really interesting that is written about this particular page. And look at all the colors on this particular bird. Iridescent, multicolored. Page of arrows. The green woodpecker contains the sacred colors of nature, red, white, green, and gold, and is known in folklore as a yaffle, Y-A-F-F-L-E, because of its distinctive laughing call. It is said to hold the secrets of the tree of life as it spirals up trees and disappears within them to rest. And so there's this very sacred knowledge and experience that is a part of the story of these young ones. The daughter of Feathers and the Margaret Peterson, she says, "My mother gave the gift of space and mobility to me. My father gave me the ability to discern. My brother gave me awareness. Right brain hemisphere, male, left brain hemisphere, female, male, aggressive and warlike, female, receptive and constructive. The sun, male, the moon, female, water, soft, metal, hard, day, light, night, dark, truth, good, lies, bad. I am dancing and jumping to and fro, stirring everything up. I am always moving and blowing the dust from rigid modes of thinking. I feed my old negative projections with movement. Nothing collects dust, nothing hardens, and nothing becomes rigid. My mind is supple and soft as the wind, weightlessly focusing my thoughts, effortlessly reaching my goal. I jump from the specific to the abstract. I have left habitual posturing behind. With every breath, I experience myself anew." So in this way, this daughter of Feathers, and that I just see this light weaving thing going on here, and maybe as well too with this magic of the woodpecker as they spiral up inside the tree to disappear. And I don't know, this is a very divine perspective on the Page of Swords. Now, I'm thinking of another deck I have right here, and that is Lisa de St. Croix's deck. And just bear with me as I try to weave this together. So in this deck, we see maybe a grad student. That's what I see anyway. And you see the golden ratio. You see a chalkboard. And it's almost as if this is that. I hope it's the page. Maybe it's the knight. Please just give me 1 second here while I find this card. And if it is the page, then that really does open up a whole other conversation about Malkut versus Keter as home of the pages. And I'm curious what you think about this. Oh, come on. You know when you're looking for a card. And if I go on and I say, well, the pages in Malkut, they have their feet on the ground, they're comfortable on the earth, they play, they run, they live life, they experience all that is here. Oh dear. Must find this card to bring this conversation to. You know, when you're looking for a card, Where does it go? Okay, well, I can't find it. Why? Here it is. It is the page. It is the page. This is the one that I'm thinking of. So in a way, this page, this is not the child who is recklessly wielding the sword in many tarot decks. This is the child who is curious about the sacred connection of mathematics and metaphysics. And this daughter and these birds who, because of their lack of taintedness, are able to know, and they may not be able to articulate it. I think that is also an important thing here. They trust a whole lot more as well, too. Okay, so that's the page. That is the page. Now, the knight. What do we got going here for the knight? We have the hawk, which makes a whole lot of sense for that. And we have an elk. And I need to expand on that. And I'm going to read the poetry of this card in entirety because it is just incredible. What Susanna Salo does in the description of these cards is she tells this story. And the Knight of Swords isn't the elk itself, it's the lesson of the whole myth. Which is, I don't know, it feels different to me than how other decks approach this. Whereas the hawk in the Greenwood Tarot is the energy of the hawk, the way the hawk moves, the way the hawk thinks and lives. And so there's something that's quite different in the presentation of the court cards. And I did mention this in the wand court cards. And this is quite an interesting story. Maybe I'll share this with you. Lemminkainen had arrived to propose to the maid of Pohjola, and Louhi, her mother, ordered Lemminkainen to first catch the elk of Hisi to prove himself. Lemminkainen made himself a new pair of skis and set after the animal, brimming with pride. He boasted that there was no animal he couldn't take by surprise and carry home, and because of this bragging, the Hisis created a supernaturally fast elk that fled like the wind to Lapland, where it caused much mayhem. So this story goes that the gods created, because of his pride, because of Lemminkainen's pride, the gods created this elk that was impossible to capture. And I forget how he did capture it. And then when the elk was corralled, in his greed and in his pride, Lemminkainen is thinking about the hide of the elk and how he will be luxuriating by a fire upon the hide of the elk and eating the meat of the elk. And then the magical elk bolts out of the corral and it takes some subsequent lessons for him to deserve to capture the elk again. So when I think about this particular myth, I'm thinking about the association of arrogance that sometimes comes with the Knight of Wands. And that certainly fits in, when you're thinking of a Pamela Coleman Smith illustration. We move too quickly, it's impulsive, it's reactive, there's not a lot of thought that goes on. And I think the lesson in all of these arrow court cards is that we require a level of focus. And when the fire is too hot, the air is too wild. And so this relationship between fire and air is very temperamental. And if we are to honor these two masculine energies and work with them in our best favor, and I don't like the word tame and I don't like the word control. It's about harmonizing and balancing these active energies so that the receptive energies don't become too quiet. Something like that. I'm going to read this one. My mother gave me a sharp sword to cut through fatal entanglements. My father gave me a compass and told me all about the winds from the east, south, west, and north. My sister gave me the courage to jump into the unknown. My room is immaculate and painted snow white. Meditating in the lotus position, I move from beta to alpha rhythms. Slowing down my pace, I move through history. I see the old warrior bathing in the dragon's blood. He thought himself invulnerable, but he died by the spear of his shadow while he was drinking from the spring. Seeing, the hero was robbed of his importance. Knowing, I saw the image behind the imaged. Breathing, I experienced things as they are. For my true self, condensed into one point, everything is equally valid. Slipping through the fine mesh of imagination, it dances unencumbered through space. Whoa. The suns are the suns are the fourth court card in this particular deck. And in Margaret Peterson's descriptions, it's like the suns encapsulate all of the best lessons of the courts. So the Son of Feathers in these decks, it's quite it's hard to weave a similarity among all of these. Again, we have a bird here. We have a high-flying, highly talented bird that also contains a tremendous amount of fire. And I appreciate how and if I think about the energy of ego and the lessons of this card, there's this balance of fire and water that is incredibly important here. So at least in all of these cards, we are contemplating that relationship between action and ego and reactivity versus our higher thinking and all of that. And now that I look at this circle here, and let me put the Father on the table because this is cool. There's something that is developing here. You see the circle and then the square. And in the Father card, you can see the circle and the square in clearer focus. In the Father card, Margaret Peterson writes how this particular energy can function in both. They can function in the circle, and they can function in the square. There's a real mastery of something that's going on here. And that's not quite developed, despite that amazing description. This sun is moving towards that, but not quite there. And I feel like my understanding of how I could bring these three together is quite incomplete. The mothers, on the other hand, so here is the mother in the Mythologia Fennica, and she is, this is a kind of a wild story. And maybe you can see a similarity in these two cards. Maybe you can see that. That the mother of air is air itself. So the mother of air is the wind. The mother of air is the all-knowing. The mother of air is prana, is the breath. And the myth that accompanies this particular story, the mother wants to come down to earth. Yet she encounters tremendous challenges, and the mother of air meets the water and becomes impregnated with the water, and for 30 years is pregnant, and in her frustration and discomfort moves around and creates the valleys and the lagoons and the pathways in the earth, and is the shaper of the earth. And because she is in so much anguish, she is not able in that moment to see the bigger picture of what her role is. It's quite something to wrap your head around. I read that page a few times. The mother of air in the Greenwood Tarot is a much calmer, more magical energy. And I don't know if you might feel the energy of deer as, and this is not just deer, it's a white hind. So quite a magical kind of deer. But for me, this, I don't know, now I'm thinking about this. I encounter deer almost daily, 4 seasons of the year, it seems, and except for in the coldest of the winter. I don't know about that particular animal as sitting here, but let's go to Ilmatar. And I'm going to go to the summary part. Ilmatar represents the feminine wisdom and deep vision toward things. Although she is deeply in touch with her emotions, they don't have control over her. She has experienced both joys and sorrows in her life, and this makes her a wise advisor. She doesn't hesitate to use her head, but also doesn't forget the importance of heart. Don't get me wrong, I really am liking this tarot deck, but I summarized the myth for you. And what I find is in the conclusions, sometimes Susanna is forcing what she perceives as tarot meanings into the descriptions in the conclusions. Ilmatar was brave to leave her lofty abode and happened to shape the Earth's formation almost accidentally whilst expecting her child. We will often notice afterward how the hardships of our past have raised and shaped us. Just like the Ilmatar shaped the earth in her torment. In order to get into this cosmic new creating state, the Ilmatar had to leave her familiar clouds and her secure heavenly home. She gave in to her destiny as the dam of water, the dame of water, I think she means, and something unique was born from her suffering. Oh my God, this paints such a dreary picture for the Queen of Swords, that the Queen of Swords must suffer on it's like a sort of like a Christ-like figure. And then I'm looking at the deer and thinking how sometimes that is a symbol for Christ as well. It is often that the greatest suffering gives birth to the most beautiful result. The greater the torments you face, the greater the things that they are preparing you for. Bravely leave your comfort zone and dare to carry out your destiny. Trust in your own vision. Wow. Okay, so you never know what's going to come out of Sadhana's mouth. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense to me when I think about it that way. If you close your eyes and bring to mind a couple of favorite Queens of Swords, most of them are holding space for those who are suffering. They guide that space. I don't know. You know what I'm thinking here is that what I just said and what I'm feeling and where I'm leaning is all of this feels very King of Cups to me. And the complexity continues. Mother of feathers, I am mother of all movement, invisible. I move in all directions and leave no trace. I play with the leaves, the trees of leaves, and dry laundry in the wind. My spirit is present in all. No prison can hold me because I penetrate all boundaries, which is what Ilmatar did, right? She penetrated in all boundaries. With a sharp sword, I cut down the insatiable and brooding discursive delusions that compulsively move around and around. I look inside as well as outside. I see new, freshly born thoughts wet from birth. They are soft, transparent, organizing themselves to feathers, plumage, wings of swans, singing through the air, breathing the happiness of belonging. With invisible threads, I weave the canvas of our projections. I am incorruptible and recognize the truth of words immediately. Look at all that energy behind the deer. Look at all that energy behind the deer. Swirling, supporting. It does. It feels like magic. It feels like we're in a fire card here. And yet the hind is white. The deer is seen as the sovereign of the greenwood, and a great deal of legend is attached to the white hart. At home in the heart of the forest and sure-footed on narrow hillside paths, hinds are nurturing and protective of their young at midsummer. That's about all you get. Yeah. So this idea of tremendous power here. Tremendous power with the mother of air. And I really feel like I'm with the all-seeing eye here. There's birds up here. There's definitely some overlap in what's going on in these two cards. Okay. And then the fourth one, the Father. Definitely, we've got fiery energy here. Fiery energy that informs thought. And without that drive, without that perseverance, this particular court doesn't thrive. Let me expand on that. So if you think about all of the kings, which of the kings has the least fire and therefore the greatest challenges? If the element of fire is the element of this court, that must be fed. It must be supported. And here we have an almighty, all-powerful court card. And it is, it can be great support to our community, to our being, and it can also be terrorizing, without a doubt. So yeah, this is a mighty, mighty king. And just so you are keeping up with all this, these two kings feature quite a bit in this tarot, in the description to all of the tales, Panu and Ukko. Ukko is the god of sky who controls the weather, rains, and fertility. He was prayed to give enough rain for the harvest to grow, but also to prevent excessive downpours and storms. People turned to him for help in all sorts of difficulties and asked for his blessing and aid. The god of thunder was an ancient deity that also adopted some of the Christian gods' characteristics in the passage of time. He represented the heavenly forces of good and battles against the forces of Manala. Demonic powers and all sorts of creatures were afraid of thunder and hid in their burrows. Ukko refers to deliberation and action, both of which the chief of gods knows how to use in a balanced manner. So deliberation and action. And if you think of some more contemporary decks, this is there are some very powerful professions that may also be represented here. The father of feathers. I left the jaws of the green lion as fiery breath and flew toward the sun. With leaden wings I fell back down upon the one who gave birth to me. Mirrored in the black pupil of the toothless crone squatting between spittoon and spirit, I saw myself imprisoned in the uterus of my own ideology. I saw the hypnosis of imagery. Pale and bloodless figures dart across the windings of my brain and ask questions to which they already know answers. Endless verbal constructs, one entangled in the next, couldn't confuse me any more. I felt the changing of my identities. Theater of clouds, melodramatic and comical. Upon their fan-like plumage I saw rainbows shimmering. This feels like a psychedelic dream or an ayahuasca experience. Between the arising and dying of thoughts, I enter a place of stillness. I feel peace and relaxation in square and circle. Words finely honed like swords await me when the necessity arises. I learned from my wife, the all-pervasive one, that the secret lies in clarity. And I think here I can expand that to say the secret lies in focus. The secret lies in focus. And with all of these court cards, I want to honor the connection between perhaps the affinity of the court, and at least reflect on it. And as I was doing with the pages, maybe I need to sometimes shift. And this is part of this journey of taking the tarot outside of the box. And I need to shift the affinity of the page from the earth to the sky and let the page be both divine and of this world. I think that this is perhaps immensely confusing for some, but also tremendously freeing for others who kind of want to break free of structured tarot readings. Yeah. All right, my friends. There you have it. I need to ask you this, and can you please come back in the once I sign off? And that is, do you want to do the rest of the deck, or are you ready for a new focus for Saturday chats? Okay, so that's the question, and I would really appreciate your feedback. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and I want to once again wish you blessings for this sacred time. Take good care. Namaste.